Letters are appropriate technical documents when you send communication from an organization or company to a colleague working at another company, vendors, customers, potential employees, or stakeholders. At the conclusion of your Chapter 13 module, you will have completed the following lecture objectives. Even though email and text messages are vehicles for correspondence in the business world, the letter is still the primary means of solving external problems with vendors, customers, stakeholders, or potential employees. Letters are more formal than memos and transmit smaller amounts of information to individuals not within the writer's organization. Now we're going to discuss the basic components of a letter, starting with letterhead. Letterhead is preferred for business letters because it offers a more professional appearance. Letterhead is pre-printed with the company's logo, address, phone number, and often a corporate slogan or identifying graphic. Because the letterhead includes the company's address, phone, and often email, it is not necessary to include that information again in the body of the letter. Sometimes the writer will provide a direct phone number or personal email address to communicate further about the letter's information. Now, if your stationery has a company letterhead, simply include the date 2 lines below the letterhead, flush against the left margin. On blank stationery, begin with your full address, including city, state, and zip code, 1 or 1.5 inches from the top of the page. Spell out address designations such as street, avenue, and west. The state name is abbreviated using the 2-letter, all capitals, U.S. Postal Service designations. However, headings are acceptable if you use blank paper. Simple headings aligned left should contain your address but not your name. The date of the letter is important for tracing the history of an idea, an action, or a problem. Write out the full, complete date the letter is mailed. Do not abbreviate the date in any manner. In the United States, the usual date line is written month, day, year. An example would be March 20th, 2007. The recipient's address uses the individual's full name. Do not use nicknames or shortened forms of the person's name unless it is preferred by the individual. Use the person's job title and the company's complete name. The address should include the state, post office box, city, state abbreviation, and zip code. Whenever possible, address a specifically named recipient and include the person's title. Using Mr. or Miss before the name is optional. If you don't know the recipient's gender or professional title, use both the first and last names. If you are on a first name basis with the recipient, use just the first name. No satisfactory guidelines exist for addressing several people within an organization. Gentlemen or dear sirs implies bias. Ladies and gentlemen sounds too much like the beginning of a speech. Dear sir or madam is old-fashioned. To whom it may concern is vague and impersonal. You could use a general greeting such as Dear Search Committee members. The body paragraph should contain no more than 3 to 4 sentences, and each sentence has roughly 25 words. The pattern of organization depends on you writing a positive, a persuasive, or negative letter. Next, we're going to discuss the closing. The closing, 2 lines below the last line of text, should parallel the level of formality used in the greeting and should reflect your relationship to the recipient, polite but not overly intimate. Sincerely is the most common closing phrase. Others, in order of decreasing formality, include Respectfully yours, thank you, and best. Now we're going to discuss your signature. Please type your signature with your full name and title on the fourth and fifth lines below and aligned with the closing. Sign in the triple space between the closing and your typed name. You should either sign your name in blue or black ink or use an electronic signature. An electronic signature is simply when you take a sheet of paper, you use blue or black ink and sign your name on it. Scan that sheet of paper, crop around your signature, and save it as a JPEG or TIFF file. Then you'll be able to insert that signature into your letters digitally. This will convey a professional image and will remain legible even when scanned or photocopied. We have now discussed the basic components of letters. We're now going to discuss the three additional components: the typist's initials, the enclosure notation, and the distribution list. With the typist's initials, if someone typed the letter for you, he or she would include your initials in caps, followed by his or her initials in lowercase characters. For example, this shows that Kelsey Hall wrote the letter on behalf of Steve Straight. If you type the letter, just skip the typist's initials since your name is already in the signature. The typist's initials appear below and the typed signature flush with the left margin. If you enclose other documents with your letter, indicate this one-line space below the initials or the writer's name and position. Type the singular for only one enclosure, plural for more. If you don't include anything, skip it. Common styles are on the PowerPoint slide. If you distribute copies of your letter to other recipients, indicate this by inserting the notation CC one line below the previous line, such as the enclosure line. The CC notation once stood for carbon copy, but hardly anyone uses carbon paper anymore, so it's said to stand for courtesy copy. List the names of people to whom you distribute copies in alphabetical order. If you don't copy a letter to anyone, skip it. If you need to write letters longer than one page, you need to print each additional page on plain paper. The additional pages should include a page header with the name to whom the letter is sent flush with the left margin, the page number in the center, and the date at the right margin. You need to have at least 5 lines of text on the page. If you don't, you should manipulate the spacing, page margins, font size, or amount of text. The block style format is most commonly used. It aligns everything except the letterhead or header along the left margin. The paragraphs are single-spaced, not indented, and have one space between each paragraph. This formatting looks sleek and businesslike. It also conveys a sense of order and symmetry. Because the modified block style uses a different alignment for the writer's return address, closing phrase, and signature, it is useful to highlight information about the writer.